My 16-year-old son, Danny, has just returned home from a mission trip in Europe. He hands me a small gift box. Mom, I'm sorry, I gotta tell you, it's imperfect. Imperfect? That's what the shopkeeper told me, but the minute I saw it, I thought of you, and I had to get it for you. Inside the box is a small porcelain cup with red flowers on it. Danny, I don't see anything imperfect, do you? No, I don't either. All I see is a beautiful gift from a sweet boy who loves his mom. That was the summer of 2003. 7 years later, that sweet boy was a courageous man serving in the United States Air Force as an EOD technician. Explosive Ordnance Disposal. Bomb squad to us civilians. Danny saved countless lives disarming IEDs until October 5th of 2010, when 7,000 miles from home on a dusty road in Afghanistan, my beloved Daniel stepped on a pressure plate, setting off a blast. The day Danny died, all the color drained from my world, except for those red flowers on his cup. Every morning I drink my coffee from Danny's cup, yet even on bright summer days, I felt like I was living in a black and white and somber movie. The pain from Danny's death was more than emotional and mental. I felt a burning inside my body, like my soul was burning from the inside out. I lived in a painful fog for months. And though the pain didn't go away, that fog eventually lifted. Sometime after that, I met Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, a former Green Beret, teaching veterans the healing power of storytelling. He had discovered its power during his difficult transition from the military to the civilian world. Scott told me, Holly, if you tell your story, I promise you, you'll start to heal your broken heart. Tell Danny's story. There were days then that I still wasn't eating or sleeping. Days that I cried out to God. Why did Danny have to die? Why am I the one still breathing and not my son? But the first time that I tried to tell Danny's story, the words stuck in my throat, and I was overwhelmed by the sadness of grief. But I trusted Scott, so I kept working on it. I had grieved my Danny for 7 years. But as I started telling his story, I made a discovery. Grief is not my enemy. It helped me mourn my Danny. It deepened my appreciation for everything that I had before this profound loss and everything that remains after. In fact, because I mourned, those colors came back, and they're more vibrant than ever before. I also realized that grief would never leave me, but my relationship with it had changed. It had become my teacher, my companion. So as I kept telling Danny's story, and Scott was right. With each telling, my heart healed a little bit more. October 2017, I'm drinking my coffee from Danny's cup when it slips, hits the floor, and breaks in two. Okay, two pieces I can glue back together. But my husband Mike stops me. No, lovey, don't. Danny's cup is now the perfect metaphor for you. You've been broken. Your heart's broken open, and because of that, you have greater capacity to love. Mike's right. I nestle the two pieces together and place them on my nightstand. They're the first thing I see every morning and the last thing I see at night. A month later, Veterans Day, I was reading the biography of Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, a Canadian Army surgeon from the town of Guelph, Ontario. Colonel McCrae served in World War I. He's also the poet who wrote In Flanders Fields, that describes how poppies grew on and around the graves of the fallen soldiers on the Western Front. That poem was published in 1915, and it went viral, though going viral in those days took a few years. So it wasn't until the 1920s that poppies became the universal symbol of remembrance for the fallen soldiers on the battlefield. That day, I received a phone call from a man named Joe, a Canadian soldier who served with my Danny in Afghanistan. That was the first time Joe had ever called me. I invited him to meet my family and Danny's 3 brothers. Before hanging up, I asked Joe, "Where in Canada are you from?" "Ma'am, I'm from the town of Guelph, Ontario." After hanging up, I ran to my nightstand and I picked up Danny's cups, pieces of his cup, and I looked at those red flowers, the ones I'd been looking at every day for 14 years, and for the first time, I realized Danny's cup was covered in poppies. I knew right then my son had always been destined to die on a battlefield. Something changed inside me in that moment. My heart still hurts. This is deeper. Peace began to soothe that burning in my soul, erasing all the whys, all the what ifs. I also noticed something else for the first time that day. Inside Danny's cup was a small blue flower. Not a red poppy. Maybe that's what made it imperfect. Under that blue flower was its Latin name, agapanthus. I looked that word up. It's derived from 2 Greek words, anthus, meaning flower, and agape, meaning selfless, sacrificial love. There was no mistake in the making of Danny's cup. That imperfect gift was the perfect message for my broken heart. My son's death, just like his cup wasn't imperfect, was not a mistake. Joe eventually visited us in northern Minnesota. That first night around the fire, we shared funny stories about Danny and his 3 brothers growing up in the northern Minnesota woods. Their exploits, sloshing through swamps every day they could, capturing slimy creatures to torment me as often as possible. And then there was a time that they got together and decided they were going to try and dig a tunnel under our garage. As the night wore on, the laughter died down, and Joe spoke. He told us that that his recovery was long and difficult because he was the combat engineer that missed the IED that killed Danny. He talked about years of addiction and suicide attempts trying to deal with his guilt. He mentioned some treatment, but then he said, "Ma'am, there are still nights like tonight when I ask myself if the wrong man came home." I went inside and I came back to the fire carrying half of Danny's cup, the half with the agapanthus inside, and I placed that in Joe's hands and I told him its story. And then I said some of the hardest words I've ever had to say as a mom. The right man came home. It was Danny's destiny to die on that battlefield. Not yours, Joe. Yours was to come home and to heal. So welcome home, brave warrior. Shaking shoulders with tears running down his cheeks, he said to me, "Friends, family, and professionals have tried for 7 years to break through my survivor's guilt. And only you, Danny's mom, with this broken cup, could do it." These are the words of Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. "In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields." Everyone has a torch. Mine happens to be half of a broken cup, covered in red flowers, thrown to me from the failing hands of my son. Danny could not have known on the day he bought that cup for me that he was throwing me a torch, handing me a sacred mission, a destiny to bring love, hope, support. Hope for warriors who come home from war lost, broken, missing pieces of the heart that they left on the battlefield with their fallen brothers and sisters. Hope for families like mine, whose beloved sons and daughters will never come home again. That's my torch. What's yours?